Welcome to the channel, guys. In this video, I'll be showing you how to easily create a DJ mix in Ableton Live. The great thing about putting a mix together in Ableton is there's no need for any DJ gear. So if you're a DJ that's traveling or you don't have access to any DJ gear, you can easily put together a great sounding mix in Ableton. If you're a DJ that's about to create a demo or looking to send your mix in to be aired on radio, doing it in Ableton will result in a clean, professional sounding mix with super smooth transitions. You can also go back to the project and edit your mix at any time. With that being said, I'm VDJ Jayesh, a South African-based DJ and video DJ. Let's get right into the video. When you launch Ableton, you'll be greeted with this screen, which is the session view, but we'll be working in the arrangement view. And in order to get to the arrangement view, all you got to do is just hit tab on your keyboard, and that will take you to this view, which is the arrangement view. And straight away what we can do is we can go over to the right hand side over here and delete the 2 MIDI tracks that open up by default. We're not going to be using them, so we'll delete them. Just right click delete, and then we're left with 2 audio tracks here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename the first audio track to deck 1, and the second audio track I'm going to rename to deck 2. What we can do next is change the project tempo to match the first track we're going to open the mix with. In my case, I'm going to be using a track that starts at 125 BPM. In order to change the tempo, just hover to the top left, and you can click and hold and drag up and down to change the tempo. We're setting it to 125 BPM in this case. The next thing we can do before we start actually pulling the tracks in is we can add EQs to both these decks, and you'll see why we're going to use them later in the video. So to add an EQ, just go to audio effects on the left hand side, and what we're going to do is look for EQ3, and we're going to drag and drop one on each channel. So normally before starting a mix in Ableton, what I like to do is put all my music in a crate in Serato. That way I can organize them by BPM as well as key. So for the purpose of this mix, we're going to be using 2 tracks. I'm just going to open up Serato, and I have these 2 tracks we're going to be working with. These are copyright-free music that I found on YouTube. And to add the songs into Ableton, it's just a simple drag and drop. So I'm going to take the first track, which is this one here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to pull it into the Ableton project onto the first deck, which is deck 1. What we're going to do now is something that's called warping, and Ableton does a pretty good job with this. And what it's going to do is basically snap it onto the grid in Ableton and make sure that the BPM and grid is aligned as well. So what I'm going to do is just trim off the bit of this beginning here. And then I'm going to double click on the track. And this is where we're going to do our warping. So I'm going to zoom into the track here. So I'm just going to hover just above this line. There's a little magnifying glass that comes up. Click and drag just to zoom in to see the waveform a bit better. And what we're going to do is basically tell Ableton where we're starting the track from. So I'm going to drag this little arrow to the beginning of the sample or the song. And what we're going to do here is right click and hit set 1 here. It's basically the same as setting a cue point on your DJ decks. Okay. And what you'll see is Ableton has added in all these warp markers here. We're going to zoom in once more. And what we're going to do is right click and hit warp from here straight. Okay, once it's warped, go over to the left and change this section here under warp. Change it from beats to complex pro. Okay, so now that we have our track in, we can go ahead and listen to see if it's on grid. And what I'm going to do is turn on the metronome on the top left here. And I'm just going to hit play. If you want to turn up the volume of the metronome, you can just hover onto the right hand side of the screen. You can just pull this up. You can hear that's warped pretty well. So we can just go further into the track and just make sure everything's still on grid. Okay, that's pretty good. We can now bring in our next track that we're going to mix into. So once again, I'm going to go into Serato and just drag this song in here. Okay, what I'm going to do is solo this track for now. So I'm just going to hover over this side and hit S. Let's zoom in a bit. Just trim off the beginning again. Again, we'll double click. Zoom into the waveform at the bottom. Okay, we're going to go right click again, set 1-1 here. Right click again, warp from here straight. And we're going to change the warping algorithm to Complex Pro. And let's give this one a listen. Okay, it's sounding good so far. Let's just go further along the track. And what you'll see from the warping, this track is 120 BPM and we've changed it to 125 by doing the warping, and it's snapped to grid. What we can do now is we can plan where we're going to transition the two songs. So I'm going to unsolo this, just going to move this down, and let's have a listen. Okay, so I'm liking this section here. And I think that's where we can do our transition. So we can just drag the track of deck 2 where we want the mix to start. So just zoom in. Let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, that sounds pretty good. So what we can do now is we can do some volume automation to make the blend a lot more smoother. So in order to get to the automation, what we do is hit A on the keyboard, and that will bring up the automation menu. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some volume automation. So what we're going to do over here, where it's under deck, we're going to change it to mixer for both of them. And track volume is the one we're going to be using. What we're going to be doing is introducing the track on deck 2. So we're going to bring the volume down. We're going to just add a point here just by clicking, and then we're going to bring this down, and that changes the volume. So we're going to start at the low volume and then basically gradually bring the volume up. So basically mimicking what we do on a DJ mixer with the line faders. Let's have a listen. So I'm going to put a point here and just click and hold and drag up, and that will give a gradual increase in volume. So let's have a listen again. Okay, what we can do now is just gradually bring the volume down on deck 1 for the track that's going to be transitioning out. So I'm going to add a point over here, single click, and a point over here, and I'm just going to drag the volume down here. Okay, so I want the transition to end somewhere here. So this is where I'm going to drop the volume. So I'm going to click and hold and bring it down as well. So let's just listen to that ending part. So there you go, it sounds pretty good. What can also be done is you can adjust the curve of the slope here where the volume goes out. So if I delete this point, just click on it once and delete. What you can do is just basically hover over the automation line and hold on Alt on your keyboard, and you can pull this down or up, and you can basically change the curve. You can make the volume fade sound a lot smoother that way. Okay, that sounds pretty good, but we can make it sound better. So I'm just going to hit A again to get out of the automation. And we've added the EQ3 earlier when we started the mix. So if you double click on deck 1, the EQ3 comes up at the bottom. What we're going to do now is we're going to automate cutting out the low frequencies, similar to using the knobs for the EQs, bass, mid, high, etc. So we're going to be cutting out the bass for this one. And what I'm going to do is, where it says gain low here, that's the bass. I'm going to turn that all the way down. And what we're going to do is we're going to automate the device on and off. So when the device is on, it will cut the bass. And when it's off, the song will play full range. So again, we're going to hit A to get to the automation lane. And we're going to automate EQ3 device on. So just make sure you select EQ3 and then device on. So what we're going to do is we're going to have it off all the way through the beginning of the track through to where the transition starts. And we're going to find a point where we're going to want to cut the bass to make the mix a lot more smoother. So let's just have a listen and see where we can place that. So it's going to be somewhere here where this song's bass comes in. Okay, so it's from here. We're going to turn the bass off here. So I'm just putting a dot or a marker there and dragging upwards to turn the device on. So that's basically in the wrong spot. So we're just going to drag it over here. Let's have a listen again. As you can hear, it sounds a lot more cleaner. I'm just going to play around with the volume automation a bit. I want the deck one's track to continue for a bit longer, so I'm just going to adjust these. I think that sounds great. And we've got a nice, smooth, clean transition. We can take it a step further. If you're someone like me that loves to use the echo effect when transitioning, we can basically go over to our audio effects here again and just look for delay. And we can drag a delay onto deck one. And basically these are the settings for your echo or your delay. I'm going to try it on 2. I'm going to turn the feedback up a bit. And just a little bit more of the dry and wet. Just solo this for now. Let's just hear what it sounds like. That's basically the delay effect, but what we need to do is automate it as if we're turning on a switch on a mixer to trigger the effect. So again, we're going to hit A for the automation lanes and select delay and device on as well. Again, we're going to pull it down so that the device stays off during the actual track. Okay, so I want to echo out that section there. So I'm going to turn the device on here. Okay, so what I want to do is get the echo to tail out over this section here. So what I'm going to do is trim out the rest of the track. And to do that, you just click the section that you want to trim out. And you hit Command E on your keyboard. And you can delete that section now. Here's another great thing about using Ableton to put together a DJ mix. You can make changes to the tracks or edit the tracks to your liking. So I'm just going to solo this track here. So if I wanted to make an edit here, I'll just click here, Command E. Again, Command E at this section. You can actually move it around if you didn't want that little break in between. And it will be kept exactly in time. You get the idea. So you can basically edit the tracks if you like as well. If they're too long, you want to shorten them, or you want to take out certain sections, you can do that easily in Ableton, just using Command E to split where you want to make the change, and you can move stuff around. And that's it, guys. That's how you put a mix together in Ableton. You just add your tracks in and repeat the process that we've done for deck 1 and deck 2, and you can then basically export your mix to WAV or MP3, and you can share your mixes. I hope you found this video helpful, guys. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.